3:21, I think it is.
Mhm.
And the first item was approving last meeting minutes, which everybody should have gotten in the email. They're pretty short, so it's not that much. Does everybody want to look at them quick or briefly? And is there anything question-wise or anything to change?
You better give us a while. They're so long. Wink.
Yeah.
Can you open that up fully?
Yeah.
There you
Better?
go. Yes, thank you.
I actually, just as a hint for people, I open all three of those and have them on my computer, and you can flip back and forth. Also, if that's easier, whatever's easiest.
Mhm.
I've been practicing, so hopefully it'll be not too bad.
Good, good. Anyone still need time, or? Anybody want to make a motion to approve?
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Who was that seconded? I'm sorry.
Greg did, but it's so quiet. I wonder if a bunch of people got muted somehow.
Yeah, somebody else sounded like they did, but go ahead and put me down. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Also, it looks like Brian got frozen.
No, he's still there.
He is. He's not moving. Now he is. There we go.
There, I was muted though. Hello, how are you, Sarah Lynn?
I'm fine.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm alive.
All right. I guess we'll let the board take over for the action items of the two discussions. Is that good, or?
Did we have a vote on the motion in the second?
Oh, okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Next is the action items, the two action items, the task from the board discussing the self-haul disposal and the 109 board approved ICI and self-haul recommendation.
Okay, Dan, can you jump to the
PowerPoint?
slide?
Yep.
Yes, please. You can go to the third slide, please. Okay, so at the last meeting, the committee requested that we take a look at any of the facilities that we could consider self-haul in Louisville Metro and list those as well as what they accept. What I've done is I've kind of started to put that together. And, well, I have put it together. And what you find, I think, at the end of this is that we don't have a whole lot of separation requirements at these facilities. This first slide lists basically disposal facilities. Obviously, the landfill, Rumpke Transfer Republic, and the Louisville WRC, most of their material is for disposal. It goes straight to the landfill. There isn't any necessarily requirements that people separate stuff. Rumpke has disposal, and I know that they did a little bit of post-construction demolition waste. I don't know if that was separate from things or if they have a separate disposal location at that site. I don't know the answer to that. Republic is strictly disposal, and the WRC is set up for disposal. It also has bins for metal, electronics, yard waste, and waste tires.
WRC again is, WRC is
Waste Reduction Center.
just
Yeah,
Merriweather?
Yeah, Merriweather.
Okay. All right.
On the next slide, and if you can switch to the next slide.
Clarifying question. It
Yes,
sounded like you were saying that you didn't think we had requirements for self-haulers to separate these items at these facilities. Do you mean, for example, that a commercial lawn maintenance company could bring in a trailer full of yard waste and dump it in the landfill?
Well, no, I don't believe that. It is more, there is the thing about not mixing yard waste and stuff, but if it comes in the mixed load, and it's not it's not egregious, it probably is not. Now, at the waste reduction center, obviously if somebody comes in and they have primarily yard waste, they're going to put it in the yard waste pile. That's where they'll tell them to put it. But it's maybe a facility type recommendation that they do it. And then, sometimes it's pulling the stuff out of what they've done because it comes in mixed, and we'll separate it if we can. But you can't, when somebody comes in with mixed loads, it's very difficult if you have a lot of vehicles coming in to be able to take that time to do that separation. But, the Waste Reduction Center, we advertise it pretty much this way. So people that come, they pretty much already know where they're supposed to go as far as metals, electronics, and yard waste and tires. But there isn't a sign on there that requires it go that way. You can go to the next slide now, Diane.
Thank you.
This is other facilities that we have material going to. West Rock and Recycle Management Resources, both of those are taking your normal curbside household recyclables, your plastics, bottles, cans, glass type of materials. They'll take them mixed, or they will take them source separated. Innovative Crushing, basically concrete. They'll take concrete. River Road and Rooster Road shingles, although I think River Road is shut down at the moment and Rooster Road is opening back up. Smith Creek with pallets, yard waste, tree debris, and food waste. Tree Care, tree and yard waste, and then you have a great number, or 7 metal recyclers, and they'll take all form of metals. We have 2 locations for self-haul for household hazardous materials. Really one of them. The other one will pick up. You have natural products, which is more beneficial use, and they'll take asphalt, concrete, dirt, rock, and masonry, and that dirt, rock, and masonry can be mixed. The tire shredding and recycling takes waste tires. So what you see is basically, for the most part, it is source separated material, with the exception of West Rock. Recycling Management Resources, RMR, while they have taken some single stream commingled material, it's not a lot. Their primary focus is on source separated material that comes in, so they don't have to do that separation.
I'm guessing that Recycling Management Resources is something else to us. Is that a new name for an existing company?
RMR?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that could be. They've been in existence for quite some time. In fact, I think at one point, they might have been inland.
Where are they?
Yeah, where they located.
They moved from where they was at, and I cannot recall where they're at right now.
Did they move from the Ralph Avenue area? Or is that where they moved to? I thought we went near it when we went to Ralph Avenue once.
I think it's off of West Broadway area.
So now we have 3 MRFs? Or they're not really a MRF, you said, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
And what was the other household hazardous waste materials site?
Safety Clean.
Where?
Safety Clean.
Safety Clean?
Mhm.
I really couldn't understand that, but safety.
Did you trust them?
Excuse me?
I thought Safety Clean had a questionable record in the past with hazardous materials. Am I thinking of somebody else?
I don't know. I've not heard that.
But don't they have a facility out in Henry County?
I can't answer that either. I don't know a whole lot about them because we don't really focus on hazardous materials other than the little bit that they do for household stuff. But the primary place is the has-been. And that's actually operated by Veolia Environmental.
Well, there used to be 2 companies in town. They both took waste oil, and one of them took hazardous materials. And one of them was getting in trouble with the state on a regular basis. So I'm not sure which one it was, but we might want to have a look at their recent record.
I think Safety Clean has broken into 2, so that might be something that you're talking about. The other company's name is Clean Harbors.
I don't recognize it. So this is dated information. But in general, we probably always ought, if we're not regulating them, we probably ought to periodically check on their status with the applicable regulator to avoid surprises.
Right. So in the end, I think this is what the committee wanted to see. And, while there are other locations that probably accept materials, well, I know that there are. It's maybe not their primary focus, or like Batteries Plus. They accept certain things, batteries and stuff like that. We don't really count that as a self-haul. Maybe we could, but I don't generally track it that way. Who else would be out there? Some of the take-back programs. You know what? I don't know that I had any electronics recyclers on here. We do have a few of those. Might have missed them. So is there any questions about the people that I have listed here and about self-haul and the opportunities? Because I think that's what you guys wanted to see, is what are the opportunities out there for self-haul and the materials that they accept in Jefferson County when we start to talk about self-haul standards. Any questions?
I have one question. Have we ever really defined self-haul? Is there a criteria or definition?
Self-haul, and I believe that there is a definition in the study, but self-haul basically is somebody that's maintaining control of the waste that they've generated.
Waste that be generated, not
waste they generated.
They generated.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it can be a shingle company that is out, and they, as part of their shingling, their primary job is roofs, replacing roofs, but they generate shingles. A lot of those guys have pull behind trailers, and they generate it through their business. They're not a shingle recycler, but they generate that and they keep control of it until it goes to a shingle recycling place. So they would be self-hauling the waste that they generated as part of their business. And it can also be a property owner that cleans out his house in the back of his puts all the stuff in the back of his pickup truck and takes it to a disposal facility, or even a pop-up drop-off event. Is somebody that's maintained control of their waste. Where it skips over into a waste hauler is somebody that is doing that more or less for hire, where you're hauling somebody else's waste. That same shingle recycler, if they utilize and hire a company to come move the shingles from that site, that's person that they hire is going to be a waste hauler. Same material, one's just self-hauled and one's with a waste hauler.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Who is that?
Bruce.
Oh, Bruce Blue. Yes, sir.
Yeah. How do we consider 3 men in the truck and those type people?
Can you say again?
What do you people? What do they call them? 3 men in the truck or 2 men in the truck?
Right.
Go around and pick stuff up. Where are they classified?
Well, if it depends on where they're taking it. If they're taking it to, if they're just moving to another place, and they're not taking anything to a disposal facility, they're just a mover. But if they're taking as part of that moving job and they're generating a bunch of waste, or they're taking it back and scrapping it, which a lot of people do. We have there's a whole group of people out there that are going to people's houses, hauling the stuff back to their place, picking out anything of value, metal and so forth, and then waiting for junk pickup to come, and they set out this huge mountain of material. They're waste haulers, but they're scrappers. They're hard to catch, believe it or not.
Do they need a license?
We would tell them that they need a license, yes, but they would probably never get licensed because if they're at the scrapper level like that, most of them are transient. That's not what they're going to do. They're gonna say, hey, I'm just not going to do it anymore, and then they just try to operate under the radar. That's their whole goal.
Okay, thank you.
Pete,
Yes.
just to let you know, we opened a second yard in Louisville now. We have a yard on the east end as well now.
Right, I knew that. Is it it's under the same name, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's as far as our ordinances go, you can, unless there is active composting on site, you don't need a composter license.
Okay.
So
Technically, we're in Oldham County.
Yeah, you're right there close to the quarries, are you not?
I'm in the quarry.
Okay, so that sits right there on that border. And in fact, I think some of those places out there depends upon what part of the property that you're on as to whether you're in Jefferson or Oldham.
Yeah.
And even some of the underground caves out there, you might enter in Oldham County, but dispose underground in Jefferson County.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough to regulate.
So one question I had is everything on these 2 pages in Kentucky and within our jurisdiction?
All of these are within our jurisdiction, Louisville, Jefferson County.
Okay.
Yeah, it's obvious some waste gets transferred out of the county without going through a transfer station. Even some recycling takes place with fallbacks, like a Kroger or a Walmart. They just put all their stuff into the empty truck that delivered goods and take it back to their hub, where they might be able to get a better price for that commodity.
Well, isn't the next step that we have to define what is it the problem that we want to solve?
Well, I think that's what one of the recommendations is to create self-haul facilities and have a requirement that people separate materials. In fact, I think we're actually going to talk a little bit about that in the advisory committee when we're going to go over how some of the current activities that we do relate to some of the recommendations from the studies, and self-haul standards and requirements as part of what we're going to talk about. Are there any other questions about this at this point? Okay.
Move on.
So yeah, what was the next item? Next item on that agenda was
Discuss whether or not board approved ICI and self-haul recommendation, which was a separate sheet, I think.
right. So I think that was part of the packet that we put in.
Yeah.
So what we did, and having to go back to 2019 when this was approved, I believe it was August of 2019. That's a long time ago. It's good to pull up the recommendation and take a look. Really don't have a whole lot to say about it other than this is what the one on that the committee had worked on and what the board had approved. So it went from just like a proposal and a breakdown of the issue a little bit to the board, and the board signed off to say, well, we need to take this further, and we can kind of start designing something that could be a part of this. It's obviously not a outline of what to do. It's more of in principle, the board wants to move forward in designing and I guess building upon this recommendation wherever it goes.
Should we pull it up for everybody to look at, or?
Diane, do you have that? Okay, Diane's got it right there.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was a proposal, and it's got a lot of examples of other cities and places that do stuff.
Right. The final one, Greg, ended up where we ended up taking the examples and kind of moving it out, but it is all in one document
Right.
here today.
Yeah, it's a 4-page document, actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe to Sarah Lynn's point or something, what is the next step that we want to do with this?
Well, I don't know. Because this all originated from a discussion about the all of the recommendations and what we wanted to move forward first.
Right.
So we was doing the effort impact matrix, and I'm not sure that exercise was ever really completed. So I still don't know that we have decided which ones that we're going to work on, unless I'm wrong. Does it?
Yeah, I think that's right.
So we can pull the effort impact matrix back up and take a look at these recommendations again.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any suggestions on what to do with the proposal. If anybody else does, I would be welcome to hear them.
I just want to do something
Yeah,
instead of talking about it.
yeah. That's kind of what we were doing, maybe, I guess, with the matrix, right? Wasn't that?
Deciding what we want to do.
Yeah,
And but as part of that, you guys wanted to see what was entailed in the self-haul. And you kind of
Right.
wanted to see what the recommendation that was already approved was about. And then the last thing that you wanted to know, because what we were telling you is that some of these recommendations, we're already doing certain activities that relate to these. And we said that we would come back to the subcommittee and take out a recommendation and match it with what we're currently doing, so that you guys can see where we're at. I mean, because during COVID, when you guys wasn't meeting, we didn't stop working. We were still doing things. So, but we couldn't implement any of these things in any form. But we tried to get with the intent of some of these recommendations. So that's what we was going to talk about at the advisory committee, because the other subcommittee was saying the same thing. Well, what have we done with, in relation to some of these recommendations? So that's what we was going to talk about at the advisory committee.
Well, how about the idea that if we fix the problems with the self-haul facilities, we will feel like we have done something, and in the interim, we can be picking out what we want to do next? Because I don't think it's going to be very hard to solve the problem of the self-haul facilities.
Okay. So do you guys want to go ahead and take a look at that recommendation?
Works for me.
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So Diane, those supplemental slides are coming in handy. Keep going. There you go. So the idea behind this is the countywide service level standards for self-haul facilities. And what the intent here is that we would set up a system that would provide the infrastructure, standardized signage, and containers at disposal facilities, so that people, when they go, they would have the infrastructure in place to be able to divert material. And as part of that, the fees for doing so would have to be less than disposal. So however that would be set up, I'm not real sure. It would, and the things that would need to be available is obviously the curbside recyclables, yard waste, clean wood, metals, and other debris from self-haul, which could include, some of the electronics, or other items that we would have to choose. We have not set up a list, but we're when we start talking about self-haul, and some of the things that we've done with our pop-up drop-offs is kind of trying to mirror it after what we would think for self-haul facilities.
Would it be like
So,
add concrete and things like that too, I guess?
possibly. I think that would depend. I think that there's a lot of discussion that would need to take place. And then as part of that, there's also a second recommendation that if these things are set up, that it would require citizens or self-haulers to utilize it. it would require them to separate their material. If the infrastructure is there, they're required to use it.
But would there be a person manning that site?
My question exactly. Staffing it? Is it a staff site?
It would be, we would have to determine that, but what I would imagine is that it would be operated by the facility that's there. And then it would be periodic enforcement through the Waste Management District enforcement that would go to these facilities periodically, watch people, make sure that they're doing it right. And if it required citation or notice of violation, we would have to work out that enforcement mechanism in that process. Obviously, there probably wouldn't be any enforcement that went on for quite some time because it would be a new thing to most people that are coming to the site for quite some time. And it would be more education first to tell people, no, you have to do this and so on and so forth. Some of the difficulties with this is some facilities are not set up to add these other items. So, and if they can, what assistance would that be to help them set that up?
I think you'd have to make it that they don't have to include all. In other words, I agree 100%. If suddenly you said you got to take everything, I couldn't do it. But a facility may be able to say, okay, I can take just yard waste, or I can take just metals and electronics, or something like that. So I think if they didn't have to be required to take everything, that would be more feasible, right?
I don't know. That would be up to the board to make that decision based upon recommendations of the committee.
I don't want to sound like a Republican, but part of me doesn't think we shouldn't have to tell a business what kind of container to use or what signs to use. I can see suggesting, but I don't feel a need to tell them those level of details. It seems to me that we should just say, you don't get to put yard waste into the landfill, and we don't care if you take it straight to the landfill, put it out at your curb, take it to a self-haul facility. It's got to get composted, and let these businesses decide how they want to do it. But if they want to take clean wood or any of these items, it should be their responsibility to containerize it and get it where it's supposed to go.
So you're talking more in line with material bans.
Well, bans from the landfill, is that what you mean? Because if so, I suppose so, yeah.
Yes.
And you know, does that seem, I wouldn't think that would be a big deal because all of these things have alternatives available in the community, correct?
There is the availability for the material. We have a lot of the places that are accepting it. I don't know. I'd be interested to hear other people's opinions on that.
Pete, I can tell.
A lot of different ways to do something like this.
Pete, I know you asked me a question via email earlier this week. We are set up to take fiber, recycling. We are set up to take yard waste, and we are set up to take MSW. Thank you, Sarah Lynn, for your Republican comment. I appreciate it. Possibly we could put a container out for people to put metal in, but then you have to start policing for Freon. So we can make it burdensome upon those people that are providing, the receipt of solid waste per se material.
Bruce, when you say fiber, do you mean cloth?
No, I'm sorry. Cardboard and high-grade papers.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, I thought you meant cloth fiber. Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I meant to say wood fiber.
Okay.
Oh, Bruce, are you saying that when a customer comes in through your gate now, they have those options?
No, they have recycling of fiber material, they have yard waste, and they have MSW going into the transfer. That's what we have available.
Mhm.
And so my attitude would be, if you're not letting recyclables and yard waste to go into the MSW stream, I don't care what dumpster you use or what sign you use. That's between you and your customers, I would think. Now, if you say, boy, it'd be a lot easier for us if we had some standardization, that's cool, but I bet you won't.
Well, the
No, we
point of,
probably won't. And, you know, all of 99% of our yard waste goes to Matt. So, and we direct haul to Matt Smith from our own trucks. So the only people that actually use the yard waste drop area would be a third party customer.
so the idea of the standardized facility signage is one that, you know, we've kind of heard this off and on in as kind of a theme in all of the recycling that we do, is that along Jefferson County, we don't have the same symbols. We don't have the same colors. We don't have the same signage, and that causes confusion. So the intent of this recommendation was that when somebody sees a certain sign, symbol, or color, that they recognize that as yard waste or organic waste, or however you want to set it up. So that was the intent of that standardized signage.
Well, I think that's not invaluable. If we assume that these facilities are staffed and that they don't just let customers dump willy-nilly, which I think would be to the business's advantage anyway, then I think it may be less necessary. But I'd like to pick my battles and potentially get into an argument about what we're going to do first, rather than getting hung up on colors and signs. But I'll certainly grant you that I've seen a lot of dumb mistakes involving confusion about the color of the container, but it was always in an unstaffed situation or illiterate housekeepers.
Basically, you're going to run into concerns when it comes to colors of containers, because I know our company will either use the brown or the green containers. And that's it. And I mean, those are our corporate colors: green for recycling, brown for MSW.
And I think I recognized that a long time ago, that, you know, people are they brand themselves. And, you know, that's just, you can't take that away from people. That's the way that they identify themselves.
Right now, you've got Brian who uses all green. So if we say that green is the color for recycling, then Brian's got an issue. You know, and if you tell me that green is the color for MSW, then I have an issue.
Right.
Which
So
goes back to having at least consistent messaging. So it really don't matter. We understand that companies have the autonomy to have their own branding, but if we had consistent messaging that you can put on those containers, at least people will be seeing the same message. Because you gotta have consistency somewhere in order for this to work.
Yep.
or even a symbol. A symbol can, you know, wording, a symbol is better because, you know, people recognize that regardless of language. So a common symbol that would be on the different things across town, different haulers, different companies, whatever, would seem to be a way to get around that color issue.
Plus, you could print a symbol, a sticker rather, a symbol on a sticker, and then the company could put it on their bins or whatever.
Hence signage. That's part of signage. Consistency, even if it's
Well,
the
that's a
symbol.
good argument. Yeah.
Well, but I see it as, if it's an unmanned, so to speak, that term facility, then it's absolutely necessary for that. But if you're dropping it off at a facility where they handle it internally themselves and then take it somewhere, then it doesn't matter what it's done because, like everybody's been saying, they all have their own colors and stuff. So to me, it depends on whether there's a person there or not.
That's not necessarily true, because you can have people dumping places even though it's staff, but the staff not be there because they could be doing something else. Again, there's where you got to have your symbols. But even when you have the staff, that means staff is going to be there
Right.
24/7 when people come in. That's just the reality
Okay.
of
I
any
was
functioning
I
staff
was going
place.
by the assumption, not the reality, I guess. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Especially at lunchtime.
Huh?
Especially at lunchtime.
It don't have nothing to do with lunch. It's just what you have people
I'm
doing.
teasing you.
operation.
It's all right.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking. You sound like a Republican again.
No, I'm just teasing you.
I'm just messing with you, Sarah Lynn.
So I think the whole idea right now, we're not talking about this to be at every drop-off site. I think that what the intent here is for this to be at disposal sites. So we're really going back to about 5 locations that this would have to take place if we chose to move forward. And it can be landfill, Rumpke, Republic, Poplar level transfer, and the WRC.
Would also leave room for people to come in that they want to create a business or create a location. Would this allow other people to put other places besides these 5 locations?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously they already are doing that to a certain degree, based upon the second page here of where it's more recovery. I kind of separated this from this slide is disposal locations, and the other one is more recovery locations. None of these take trash, solid waste, municipal solid waste. All of these are taking a specific item. So no, there wouldn't be anything that says they couldn't do that. An alternative, well, I think that the study really kind of recommended it at disposal sites because that's where a lot of people go to. If you can get people to go to other sites, they're always going to have something left over to dispose. And then what are they going to do with it? So it's better at that disposal site. They're going to take something to get rid of it. They got places to separate their load. What's left goes to the MSW pile.
Since we have more business people on this call and we're talking about regulating them, I'd love to hear some more feedback from them.
Well, I know that you would love the feedback that you would receive, Sarah Lynn. Yeah.
Well, I might as well hear it now instead of some board meeting.
Being permitted as a MSW transfer station, MSW includes everything that you're talking about eliminating except for yard waste. So there would be, some pushback, I would imagine. I'm just assuming that there would be pushback from those people who accept solid waste, whether it be outer loop, whether it be PLT, whether it be Rumpke, you name it. You're regulating their business beyond what their state permit requires.
So are we talking more than de minimis quantities within another load?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, clean wood is a very broad subject. It's clean wood. Does it have
Clean
nails?
wood is, yeah, you'd have to define that a little bit, and that's more untreated, unpainted wood is what you're talking about. You don't
Right.
want the treated or the painted.
So we're talking lumber really rather than wood per se, correct?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, and obviously you would have to define the commodities.
And really, I can't think of the last time I saw a load of pure lumber coming into the site.
Right. Well,
Not
I want to
very
clarify, these entities on this particular screen do or do not have everyday people showing up? Or do they only have contractors, subcontractors, whatever, bringing in stuff?
You'll probably get a little bit of in all of these locations. Obviously, the metal recyclers are going to have people coming in all the time, that are not haulers or contractors, or people just bringing in metal that they have at their house or whatever. Tire shredding and recycling, I would say that they're mostly, they have a lot of haulers that bring tires, but a lot of theirs is self-haul. Tree care is probably more, it's got contractors, but there's a lot of people that will haul their tree in their pickup truck. So that's self-haul.
Well, if I listen to what I'm hearing, isn't it the case that on this page, for example, pretty much every one of these companies is getting already fairly consistent stuff except for the first two? And they're probably getting a fair amount of mixed stuff, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So currently, if those two companies get, a trailer full of stuff, and if it's 50% recyclable and 50% not, are they allowed to put it all in the landfill?
To answer your question, I would assume that under the guidelines of the permit, West Rock would be, eligible to dispose of their non-recyclables into a landfill.
I couldn't understand you. I beg your pardon?
I would assume that West Rock is permitted to dispose of their non-recyclable commodities into a landfill.
Because they're in Indiana, or not just because?
No, West Rock's in Louisville.
Okay.
Industry.
I've got to jump in here. This is Marie. Hi.
Hi, Marie.
I don't think you guys are going to want to hear what I have to say either, but I'll just talk about West Rock in particular. They have loads every day that come out of their site that they can't, or they're not recyclable, or they're too contaminated, and it does go to the landfill, yes. Because they have trash as well. It's commingled.
Yeah, with West Rock, you obviously are going to have residuals, and you're going to have contamination, and that is going to go to disposal. There's no way around that. We have programs to reduce contamination, and but there's always, I think, going to be residuals that are going to end up being either landfilled or used for waste to energy or whatever. The question about that is when their contamination level or the amount of material they have going to the landfill exceeds a certain level, and then they're not a recycler anymore permit wise. They become a transfer station.
Mm-hmm.
So that, there's that fine line. Generally, that has been 15%, according to the state.
But aren't we conflating issues when we go in this direction, in the sense that I get it that when they get a ketchup bottle that's half full of ketchup, it's probably going to go to the landfill. At least figuratively, that's an issue, but that's separate to me than self-haul. Self-haul's at the other end of that sorting process, correct?
Yeah.
So Marie, can you clarify how what you said is relevant, please?
Well, I just picked the first one on the list, which was West Rock. We also reuse, I don't know what you all want to call it, but we beneficially reuse rock and asphalt and dirt, masonry at our own site. I know that doesn't count, but I kind of just went from the first that was the first one I saw. So I wanted to talk about it. The other thing that I have a question or I'm kind of concerned about is if we start, say at my citizens area, which is not very big, but it's popular. We start separating materials there. I don't see one place on here, and that's my concern, that I can take some of that material. I already do pallets, so that's beside the point, but other materials that you guys think we should be recycling. I mean, I just don't know if there's really and truly an outlet for everything that we're talking about.
Yeah, so what are the items that you're talking about?
We get in people's fencing, no clean wood. Clean wood doesn't come to me. I think people hold on to that. But for our citizens area, all kinds of things come into our facility that may or may not be recyclable. We don't take tires or yard waste in the citizens area. We don't take tires, period. But I'm just wondering, like, I know we've done this before and we've been down this road before and people have said, oh, 50% of what you're taking is recyclable material. That's going to cost the company money to sort that stuff. And I don't know if we have enough disposal facilities or recycling facilities to take the material.
But I thought we were talking about what we're going to make the person, like the members of the public that are showing up, sort, not you have to sort, right or wrong.
I don't know.
That's correct. That is the intent of the recommendation. I'm not saying that we're gonna do it. That's the intent of the recommendation.
But suppose,
okay, so at the source.
well, I'm going to make a hypothetical. If you're getting things like washing machines and dryers and that kind of stuff, if the board might adopt a rule that says you need to put a dumpster out there for white goods and then have some contract with a metal recycler to come and fetch it when the dumpster is full.
Understand. And we do not take white goods just for the simple fact of it for refrigerators and air conditioning units used to come in and we didn't want to fool with it. So we do not take appliances, just FYI.
So
I understand.
I'm not hearing the problem then.
There may not be a problem.
Okay.
I think the whole intent here is that all of the recommendation is saying is that a disposal facility would need to have these bins, and a citizen would be required to separate their material and put it in those bins. And then those bins would have to be, it goes to recovery. If we don't have a recovery outlet for a material, then either we get one, or it goes to disposal. So in that material list of what can be accepted or recycled could change over time because, things come into, we need certain items and, it's really recyclable at this particular point. And then 3 years later, it's not recyclable. There isn't an outlet for it anymore. So that material list would obviously need to change as market conditions change.
So hypothetically, could we say, hey, Marie, you need to add a dumpster for white goods? Or no? If she's not taking white goods, this doesn't apply.
You can't tell. No, I don't think that's hypothetically correct. I don't think that.
Well, I'm not asking a legal question. I'm just trying to ask, are we in this discussion talking about getting entities that take a whole range of stuff to expand what they redirect from the landfill or not? If we can reach agreement on what we're talking about, then we can argue about it. But I feel like this discussion on the what keeps moving around.
I'm just going to point out we're about at our time limit, so we need to somehow wrap up and close out. So
Well, I think this has been a really good discussion. It's something that, although will be difficult and there will be disagreement, we're talking about it.
Right.
And whether we come up with, we don't want to do this at all, or, hey, this is the greatest idea in the world, why hadn't we been doing it? We need to have the discussion.
Yep.
And it can be anywhere in between. It's what this committee and what this board decides that they want to do. But we can't do that unless we talk about it.
And to your point,
The one thing I might ask is I wonder, can staff possibly, in other words, one of the reasons we're talking about this, because even though ICI does so good, there still was a large percentage not being recovered. So again, with the easy stuff and big payoff, are there one or two materials that we could pull out that would be high volume yet non-controversial? Is that something staff could help us with for next time?
Well, I think industry needs to help us with that.
Or actually, industry tells staff and then staff report back to us. Yeah. Okay.
and let me just say this before we close to your question about whether we do this or not, Sarah Lynn. I'll just say this: you also got to give
A
people
little louder, please. I can barely hear you.
Okay, is this better?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll just say this: even from our perspective, we also got to be mindful to give people the autonomy to do what they're good at, as long as they're doing something, and not maybe dictate everything they do, but give them an option to do this, and then maybe add some more things. It also depends on, finances and staffing to add some of those other things that we would like to get out of it. But if somebody's doing 3 or 4 things as opposed to 0, that's a start.
Yep.
Great.
But we got to also remember, we gotta be able to handle those things and do them well, and not just be doing stuff and don't get nothing out of it. So that's what we gotta think about too.
Great.
I would like to change the subject and ask a quick question.
Briefly.
Given that we are apparently almost all baby boomers, are we getting close to the point where we're all inoculated and we can go back to meeting in person, which feels a lot easier to make progress on? Is that an appropriate question to ask?
I'm not a baby boomer.
Well,
I'm vaccinated.
I'm halfway and soon will be finished.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to ask everybody to send to Pete or somebody, or I guess Karen. I'm sorry, Diane, their condition, and then we could get a summary.
Is that something that we should be asking?
Well, that's what I'm not sure of, but it sure would be nice to quit meeting like this and, not being able to turn our own page and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let me say this: we are not fully back in yet as Metro government. We got people still working from home. So when that is lifted, I say this could be lifted. So we're going to follow what we're doing here in Metro government, and people are still working from home. It hasn't been lifted yet, like it
Good argument. Good argument.
Okay, thank you.
Just to give some people time between meetings, I'd like to ask any other business anybody wants to bring up. If not, I propose somebody make a motion to adjourn the meeting, or I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending, and see you all in a couple minutes.
See you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.